Hey y'all, it's Mary Hyatt, and I'm so excited you're here for this month's topic, which is all about manifestation. This month, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty on how to create what you want in your life, your business, and your relationships. Because we're not just going to arrive at where you want to go by default, it has to be by design. Now, I cannot wait to show you how to become a powerful manifester because this is seriously one of my favorite topics to talk about. So stay right here and let's hop into it.
Welcome to the Living Fully Alive podcast with Mary Hyatt, here to help you find your authentic voice, learn how to love yourself, and embrace your life. And now, your host, life and mindset coach, body love advocate, and doTERRA Presidential Diamond, Mary Hyatt.
Hey everybody, it is Mary, and I am thrilled about my episode to share with you guys today. Typically, I have my lovely co-host, Lindsley Brooks, come on and do an episode with me every month, and we're changing it up this month, and I have instead, even though we love our sweet old Lynn, to bring on my executive assistant, Elizabeth Eskridge, aka Liz. And y'all, I know you're going to fall in love with her, just like everybody does who meets her. She is so magnetic. She has the absolute best laugh. But I brought her on the show today because as we're talking about manifestation, she has a really unique take on it. And she is a single mother of 2 biracial children. She is active in her allyship to communities and individuals of color, and she just fights so deeply for social justice and racial equality. And so we get in deep in this conversation and we talk about, okay, is manifestation really available to all peoples, or is this actually something only available to privileged white people? And I think this conversation is going to challenge you. I think it's going to expand and stretch you. And what I think you're going to find, this is one of the most powerful conversations that I've had on the podcast. I just feel so relevant and so important and hopeful. So without further ado, I just want to jump right into it and share this episode with you. So here is my conversation with my assistant, Liz. Hey everybody, it is Mary, and I am so excited for today's episode. This is a first on the Living Fully Live podcast. I have got my assistant, Liz, on the show. What up, girl?
What's up?
She's got to just hang out with me while I give a recap of the past 2 episodes because they were so good. Like the first one we talked about this month, side note, go back and listen. I'm going to give you the recap, but you got to go back. It's going to be helpful because the first episode I talked about the foundation of manifestation.
Yeah.
I went through my 5-step process. I had to remember. There's 5 steps. Liz knows everything because she has to listen and create notes. So she's well versed in this. And then last week we had Jen Mazer, the Queen of Manifestation, on, and y'all raved about that episode. It was so fun to hear your feedback. And she gave a lot of helpful, firsthand experience of what it looks like to manifest a life. I mean, she lived rent-free in Manhattan for 10 years.
Unbelievable.
Who does that?
No one, just her.
Whoa. So go back, listen to those. Just amazing to kind of build upon each other. And I got a message from this girl on Instagram. Yeah. And she said, okay, Mary, I love this topic. I love that you're talking about manifestation. And how does this all fit inside of what we're experiencing right now?
Yeah.
In the world of racial justice and equality. And there has been a lot of memes, I don't know if you've seen this, that say manifestation is white privilege.
Yeah.
And I have liked those posts.
Totally.
And I've been like, yes, thank God somebody is calling out this spiritual BS that, I don't know, there's that spiritual bypassing thing I'm real triggered by. I'm kind of just triggered by any kind of blatant, let's put our hands over our eyes and our fingers in our ears.
And ignore.
What's really happening. And so I went into this month knowing that I was going to be challenged. Yeah. Because I'm a real big believer in law of attraction, manifestation. I have built my businesses from that place of alignment and flow. And yet there's this rub.
Sure.
And so I wanted to bring Liz on because not only there's a couple reasons, and I'm just going to kind of say
Sure.
it. Like, honestly,
I don't know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
if you need me to edit this out later, you just let me know. Okay, well, first and foremost, so Liz, we've known each other for,
Oh my gosh.
I was actually thinking about this, like at least 10 years.
It's been more than 10 years.
Okay.
Because we met when we were both previously married.
Yeah.
And we met through our ex-husbands.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I had met you after your divorce or before.
We were still married. I was still married, and
Okay.
I've been divorced for almost 10 years.
Wow.
So it's probably been more like 13. Yeah.
Bentley did say to me yesterday, he said, is it kind of interesting that all of your friends are divorced? And I was like, oh, well, I mean, I was like, that is kind of interesting, but I guess I don't know what that says about my life, but there's that. But we weren't really close.
No.
And then we connected, fast forward.
Yeah.
After we had both been divorced, we connected over curvy yoga. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Was there something else?
Yes. We connected. I was divorced. This whole podcast becomes about our divorce.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I had gotten divorced. You were still married because we initially connected over doTERRA.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the gym.
Yes. And then the gym.
And then curvy
yoga.
So Liz is a curvy yoga instructor, although you don't do a whole lot.
I'm not currently teaching right now. Yeah.
Not currently teaching, but she is like all into body love, body acceptance, health at every size, all of that. So she's well versed in all of that. And I knew, like, at that point I was like, we have so much in common.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, my assistant had quit and
I was cleaning.
That's what it was.
I had like a job situation and Mary, your cleaners weren't coming to this part of town anymore.
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, do you want to clean my house? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And then your assistant quit.
And then you were working part-time for me.
Yep.
Helping out with the Airbnb and everything. And then last December you came on full-time.
Yes.
And so now we're just one big happy family.
Now we just hang out and laugh a lot.
But what I love about you is that because we get to be so connected on a daily basis, like we're part of each other's lives.
Yes,
like we
totally.
have very honest conversations.
Yep.
We're kind of like, pseudo therapists for one another, even though we both have our own therapists. Okay.
Yeah. Go to therapy.
But we've walked through a lot of like hard stuff together on both sides of our life journey. And one of the things that I feel like has been part of your journey working with me is kind of getting to witness how I live my life from a place of abundance.
Yeah.
And you have gone through a really challenging, like past decade.
Yeah.
Well, maybe more. I don't know.
More.
But it's been really, I think, really beautiful to see your like openness to this. So just so that everybody kind of gets an idea of your journey. Yeah. And I want you also to just talk about your children as well, because that's going to be important for this conversation. Give us a little history of Liz that's relevant to this conversation of manifestation.
So, I think a part of what is relevant is that I grew up in an evangelical Christian home. So definitely manifestation has challenged my faith. While my faith has been overhauled and the foundation has changed, and now I believe that like manifestation and my faith actually can coexist with one another beautifully. I think it is relevant to say that was my beginning. Yeah. Because I think manifestation can feel conflicting for people that grew up in with certain faith backgrounds.
You think because it's just like too woo-woo?
Yeah, I think it's woo-woo. I think people hear manifestation. I hear manifestation and think faith and prayer in some ways. And I think people hear manifestation and think that you are eliminating those things. And that's just, I don't think that the two can exist without one another for me personally.
Yeah.
So that feels important. And then I did not grow up with much at all and kind of went through, I've been kind of thinking about a lot of this the last couple of weeks, but didn't grow up with a lot. My parents divorced. My mom remarried. Suddenly we had more than we ever had, but then they divorced and then that all goes away. So there was a lot of like having, not having, not having.
Yeah.
Got married very young. Had 2 children very young, became a single mom at 29.
Wow. And
at that point, my kids were like, I guess, 7 and 4. And, don't have a college degree, kind of do a lot of things, but nothing like very specific.
Yeah. You were a jack of all trades.
I was a jack of all trades. So I have really lived hustle. It's what I've done.
I was just going to say, you're a hustler. You're like the definition of a hustler.
It is what I have done my entire adult life. Just piece together whatever I could to kind of be able to be a mom and show up for my kids and not miss anything with them, but then also pay bills and make sure food was on the table and all of that stuff. So I think I've lived very much hustle. I'm an Enneagram 2.
That's why we get along so well.
So receiving, asking for help, all of that is very difficult for me. And so I really built a foundation of don't ask for help, don't receive.
And you're one of the most generous people I've ever met. Like literally, like you were insanely generous. Like you're always helping people. And I think in that, it's always like, I said this to somebody else on a podcast, like our trauma, our struggle ends up becoming our medicine.
100%.
And like you're such a product of that. Like what you have dealt with, you turn around and give it back.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of just brag on you because I know you probably wouldn't do it for yourself. So Liz is like very active in our community, and like you were always like hearing which families are in need from your kids' school or local schools, connecting with social workers, and seeing what the needs are for these families that are low income, usually families of color who are, for example, like when our school shut down because of whatever, whether it's a holiday, whether it's summer, whether it's the tornado, whether it's COVID, like you are banding together and getting food together. You're getting resources together for these families. And I had the opportunity to witness what you did in November of last year for Thanksgiving. Yeah. And y'all, my entire dining room table, which is like 15 feet long, was covered with food. And I mean like everything you could imagine. And Liz had coordinated all of these people to come in and donate food to supply these children and their families with food for the Thanksgiving break, because so many of the kids in our neighborhood, an area of Nashville, aren't getting their meals unless they're at school.
Yeah.
And so that's been, especially now with COVID, a huge issue. And you just received like, I've been watching your insane Amazon deliveries that people have been sending you.
There was a day last week, I literally could not walk out of my house because we had 3 Amazon trucks come that day. And I'm a little bit of an exaggerator, but please know I'm not exaggerating. We were barricaded in our house, had to climb over boxes to get out the front door. It was unbelievable.
So I say all this, I bring all this up to give you kind of a picture of Liz, because she is, again, one of the most generous people you'll ever, like literally you are the most generous person I've ever met, like ever. And I feel like I know generous people, and you were like by far top of that group. And yet the on the flip side, this idea of receiving, I mean,
it's a friend actually, she said something, she commented on that the other day, on my ability to ask and receive for other people, but my inability to do so for myself. And it shows up in a lot of areas of my life where it is so easy to do things for others, but then for myself, I'm just like, I shut down. Literally.
And I've seen it. I've witnessed it. Like I have been a part of that shutdown. And yet I would say, like, from when I first knew you to now, like you're starting to open up to that even more. And talk to us too. I just want to say, because you have biracial children.
I do.
And your ex-husband was Black. And I think that plays a part in all of this as well. The community you're drawn to support and love and help. And also will be relevant for this conversation. So let me ask you this. So what we're going to discuss today is like the pitfalls of manifestation. Those things that people come in and say like, hey, this is BS. That's nice for some, but doesn't work for all. So I want to hear from you like a little bit about your struggle. When you think about I don't want to say just the Black community, because I think there's multiple communities, but
Sure.
because that's the community you're involved in.
Yeah.
But when you deal with children whose parents aren't at home
Yeah.
or fathers are in jail
Yeah.
and who have experienced like significant trauma
Generationally.
not
Yeah.
only generationally,
Yeah.
because I want to actually have that conversation too, 'cause
Yeah.
that's but like in their
Individual.
own sweet little
Yeah.
lives when they're young
Yeah.
trauma,
Yeah.
ripped away from their families,
Yeah.
witnessing all kinds of different things. So, and this is the community that you support and love. So I'm imagining like you and I can have this conversation about manifestation, but to go in and have that conversation in that community, it's a whole different conversation.
Totally different conversation.
So talk to me through that. Like, where do you meet that
Yeah.
rub where like it's difficult?
I think the first thing to be mindful of when you're talking about manifestation and then you're talking about people who are involved in systems of oppression is that it is really difficult to have a dream for even tomorrow or a hope for tomorrow when you are literally trying to get through today.
Yeah.
So if you're only concerned about my electric bill is due today and it's going to get shut off if I don't pay it today, so today I have to come up with $160, you aren't able to think about tomorrow.
Right.
Or if you don't know how you're going to give your kids dinner tonight, it is very difficult to think beyond just the moment that you're in.
Yeah.
So I think that is the first thing that I think of when I think about like, oh, manifestation is for everybody.
Right.
Is that some people literally are just trying to get through today.
Yeah.
And it makes it really difficult to have a dream outside of, whatever. I also think that for white people, we are often taught growing up, and not all of us, I know, but you can be whatever you want. Whatever
Right.
you want to be, whatever you want to pursue, it's all
This
open
is
to you.
America, damn it.
Yes, exactly. Like it is all open to you. And that's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we literally can. And we could have a conversation about, I grew up poor and this and that too, but I still had a leg up. I still
Right.
started, closer to the finish line.
If you put on the right clothes and
Yes.
and had, enough ability to speak with intelligence,
Yes.
nobody was going to question anything.
No, correct. So there's that too. There's just like a different mentality.
Right.
You're talking about, and I've witnessed it, and my children have come home and told me about it, and I've seen it happen, but you're talking about kids who often, when they go to school, the things that are spoken over their life are not positive.
Yeah.
So my kids have been in classes where teachers have said to them, you're all going to end up in prison, or, you're going to die, or, like literally death
Yeah.
spoken over you your entire life. So
Yeah, it's like I'm just having this. I was really drawn to and having this memory of when I was younger.
yeah.
The movies of like was it Dangerous Minds?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
like Freedom Writers or
Yeah.
something, where it was like this, white savior would
Yes.
come into the
Yeah.
school and like change this community of
Right.
like Black and Latino,
Yes.
children, and they would suddenly go to college, and it's like that's really probably not happening.
No, it's not happening.
know?
And I do have to say, I spend a lot of time in schools, and I know some incredible educators who are
Yeah.
just like thanklessly showing up every day and
Yeah.
doing hard work and are speaking life over kids. But the truth is that they're also hearing the opposite, not only in school, in our society.
Yeah.
Like they're, the things that are spoken over the lives of Black people in our country, but in the media, in when they, go outside or go to the store, whatever is not the same. So immediately there's a mentality that is just different.
Well, and I think that because I would imagine that 90% of the people listening to this are white.
Yeah.
I know that right now there's probably a tendency to want to maybe shut this podcast off. Like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
But I just think it's important because if we're going to be manifestors, there's something really, there's a lot to this conversation, but I think it's important for us to understand because I think there's this sort of like, mentality of pull yourself up from
by your bootstraps.
What's the history of that?
I don't know. It's probably racist. Yeah. I mean, it literally probably is.
But that whole idea of like, if you want it enough, you can create it.
Yeah.
And I think that like, I don't want to discount the idea that like people have come out of that community.
100%.
And like, I mean, just amazing human beings who
Yes.
have just contributed to this world in such
Yeah.
a beautiful, powerful way. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a sentence in
Right.
that sense. Like, you can overcome it. But I think
Yes.
the word overcome is important to
Yeah.
focus on, because even if you look at this from a psychological perspective,
Yeah.
and this is where the generational trauma comes in.
Yeah.
So I've been studying a lot about trauma recently over the past probably 2 years, because of things in my own life and just a general interest in it. But when the brain is in that, what is called the lizard brain, the reptilian part of the brain, where you are fighting for your survival, where it is fight, flight, or freeze response. And I think all of us have been in that, and probably, especially right now, I've been in that a lot more than normal.
Yes.
But when you're talking of an entire group of people who are operating from that part of the brain, and like for us, like, I mean, y'all know, I have a coach, I have a therapist, I do neurofeedback, I have essential oils, I see a alternative medicine energy practitioner, I do kinesiology. I mean, I have like all kinds of resources to make sure that I stay mentally sane. And even then, there are so many days that are I'm like, whatever. And I've been through trauma. And this is not to say, like, we never want to paint this like comparative trauma.
Right.
Like, your life is worse in the sense of like, your trauma is worse than mine, or your pain is worse than mine. Pain is pain, trauma is trauma. It's all hard. But when you think about generational trauma, and that being passed down literally in the studies now, it's like in the DNA, like crazy. Cellular memory DNA. So like, you're coming into the world, like they, there's all kinds of studies of mothers who are in a state of stress when they're pregnant, and what that gets passed down to the child, and with the developmental issues that can happen. So you're talking about a group of people who for hundreds of years have trauma, ripped away from their families, boarded on a boat, crossed the sea with horrible diseases, sitting in their own urine and feces, like, and then to wind up in America and like, oh, now you're a slave. Now you're, you work and you have to do all these, we won't go into all that. There's plenty of resources to learn about that. But the amount of, if you think about too, the systemic issue of self-worth that started. Like, because I know, at least for manifestation, I have to have confidence and trust that like the world is a good place and that there is enough. And like, when you're in that reptilian part of your brain, and like you're saying, you're trying to just get your electrical bill paid or feed your family or whatever, it's not that you can't manifest.
No. It's
that the brain isn't tapping into that part.
Right.
Like from like a neurological place. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs 101.
Right. Yeah.
Like if your basic needs aren't met, you can't
ascend
with
anything
to a higher consciousness. It's just not possible.
Correct.
So with this, kind of like, okay, this is the reality. Like there is this generational trauma. And then we look at manifestation, that's saying manifestation is white privilege.
Right.
Okay. Do you believe that's true? Hey y'all, I'm sure you've been hearing me mention my Fully Alive Circle membership, and you might be wondering what it is and how you can join. So let me tell you a little bit about it. So the Circle membership is a safe place for women to gather together in a heart-centered community to take this deep dive into personal transformation. So it's my online membership where you'll learn how to find yourself again through daily devotional practices. Inside of our private Facebook group, I share resources like guided meditations, yoga practices, essential oil recipes, journal prompts, and so much more that dive into our monthly topic that we explore right here on the Living Fully Alive podcast. And all those resources are delivered to your inbox weekly to help you create powerful change in your life. So if you're looking for an affordable way to continue your journey of living fully alive, then definitely check out the Fully Alive Circle membership. Just go to maryhyatt.com/circle and you can find out all the details and join. All right, now back to this week's episode.
Yes. It's such a big question.
I know it is.
Because again, like you just said, I do believe that anyone has the power.
Yeah.
Like in them to manifest. I think that, I mean, you just said it, like we start off ahead. Like I think that white privilege shows up in manifestation.
Okay, explain that.
So I mean, we literally just start with those, you know, you'll hear the word blocks a lot in conversations about manifestation. So we immediately start off with less blocks.
Right. And the blocks are like, give me an example of some of that.
So, I mean, a block would literally be like not being able to think about, not even having space to dream of something different. Like, that's
like you're stuck in survival state.
Yes, you're just stuck in survival. Like that's a massive block.
Right.
Yeah. Or, you know, when the whole world is screaming that you're not worthy of, like, that's a huge block.
I just got chills when you said that. Just like,
yeah. And, you know, as women, again, I'm 100% not comparing the two, but as women, we know what it's like to struggle with, you know, not feeling worthy, not feeling confident, having, you know, a society that tells us women should look a certain way or whatever. So we know, I feel like on a significantly smaller scale, what that feels like. And I think that has been a block for both of us.
But here's the crazy thing. In some form or fashion, you can control that. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
like you
totally.
can, like you can.
Yeah, I agree.
Like there's some part of that that's immutable.
Right.
It's not like this is how you came into the world and you were born.
Right. Correct. And there's things that we can change and whatever. So you are literally in one way, shape, or form. You're being told constantly that you are not worthy.
Yeah.
And so being able to overcome that that's a huge block.
It's a huge block. And like for all of us, there are blocks.
Yes, we all have
You know
them.
what I mean? Like, and again, it's kind of like, we're not saying you can't do it.
Right.
I think okay, this is what I think is interesting. Manifestation and white privilege are different.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So
they're
like
not the same thing.
So when I think about, because I think that's the saying, like, did you manifest that, or is that just white privilege?
Right.
Like that's the meme or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes and yes.
Yes.
In a way. Do you know what I mean? Like manifestation, like, because when I think about manifestation, I just think energy. Like the universe operates in energy.
Yeah.
And manifestation, the law of manifestation. We create our realities. We speak it into being.
Yeah.
Our words have power.
Yeah.
That existed before white privilege was a thing.
Sure.
So like if you if you go back and you think like ancient days, like even the creation story.
Yes.
We talked about that on the first episode. Like God speaking the world into existence. Some of these like these laws and principles of the universe.
Yeah.
And then you think about, if you go back, I mean, we could even get into the conversation of like, you know, was Jesus black or white?
Right.
You know?
He was not white.
He was, let's be clear.
Jesus was not a white man.
Jesus was not a white man. So if you go back and the things that Jesus taught that like align with manifestation.
Yes.
That are ask and you shall receive.
Yeah.
You know, that whole idea of prayer, like you were talking about at the beginning, from the evangelical kind of perspective, this idea of prayer. Prayer is manifestation.
I agree with that 100%.
Right? Okay. So like this is ancient before we sort of have this white people group that become oppressors.
Yes.
And the history of that. So if we think about manifestation as energy.
Yeah.
And it is a law of the universe. Like the universe isn't discriminating.
No.
Like the universe doesn't come in and say like, oh, you're white, so you're going to get this easier.
Right. Yes.
Or you're black and it's going to be harder for you.
Yeah.
The universe, God, source, whatever, is picking up only on energy.
Sure.
The ego part of our life, the part of us that's just human, the ego where this is where white supremacy comes into play. This is where oppression comes into play. This is where hatred.
Yeah.
All that's the ego.
Yeah.
Where if you think about manifestation is in the realm of soul.
It's
spirit.
above all of it.
It's above all of it.
Yeah.
So it's not picking and choosing like, oh, because you're white, you get XYZ.
Yeah, yeah.
But what we're saying is from a human level, from an ego level, like a biological generational trauma, your chemistry of the brain place.
Yeah.
That's where it's more challenging.
Yeah.
Not that you can't have access to it or that there is discrimination. It's not like, because I just think like we experience this in America
Yeah.
because this is our history.
Correct.
But if you go over to India,
Right.
where there's not a large population of black or white people in India, Indians are still able to move and operate and design their lives based upon this law of manifestation that has nothing to do with white supremacy at all.
Yeah.
Now, do they have a class system?
Sure.
That probably the people at the top are going to have an easier time creating wealth? For sure.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
I do. I see what you
making
mean.
sure to separate the two.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think when you start talking about this, my brain immediately goes to, so as a group of people who seem to have easier access to manifestation, which is not the case, but who don't have the blocks and who are able to kind of get there in their own head or imagine things differently and make them happen because of that. What is our responsibility to the people that are having a harder time? So that's why I feel so strongly about meeting people's physical needs.
Yeah.
It feels like such a basic thing to make sure that you have a meal, but until we are meeting people's physical needs, we can't even hope for them to hope for something better.
No, you're not going to have a conversation
right
with somebody about so I just went through this 8-day manifestation challenge with a group of people.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing and so powerful, but I'm not about to walk into that community and say hey, y'all want to do this 8-day manifestation challenge? I'm so sure.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
F off.
Yes.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, and we can even, we could take it back to scripture because we brought it up a couple of times, but Jesus, before he healed people, before he did whatever he did, he always made sure that people's physical needs were met. Always.
Yeah.
He fed people. He always made sure that those things were taken care of.
Well, and I think that when I think about manifestation as a white woman who has privilege,
yes,
so aware of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want more privilege. I want more of the good things of life. I want to continue to manifest more and more and more. And to me, now that's become a social responsibility.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you.
It's what can I do with that money?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
What can I do to bless the people that are around me that I love and then beyond?
Yeah.
And even in my life, what I love is I employ you.
Yes.
You go in and help this community.
Yeah.
I come in and, we'll donate
you
things
let me use your table.
I let you use my table. And you think about I may not be the person receiving the Amazon gifts right at my door,
but I'm able to receive the Amazon gifts somehow because I work for you.
It's we have as white people, and honestly all people, if you are in privilege, whether you're white or not, you have to me, you have a responsibility to invite others to the table. So I think part of the idea is white people have a seat at the table already because we're white.
Right. Were born.
You were just born with it.
Yeah.
And so to me, I feel part of our responsibility is if we're going to help other people manifest across the board, we have to create opportunities for that to happen. Manifestation happens because of other people.
That is I could not agree with you more.
Okay, actually tell us a story of how this just happened.
With my house?
Uh-huh.
It's such a long story.
Well, just give us the highlights and even the basketball court. And
so I think I'm so glad that you said that because I do think that sometimes when we think about manifestation, we think about it being something so far off and the universe just throws something in our lap.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes, but I also think more than that happens that people are the answers to your prayers and manifestations.
Totally.
So I, for years, have always thought and felt, I have to say this. Last week, you guys talked about what did you say? When you're tapping into your imagination, you're actually tapping into your intuition.
Yeah.
And it's what God or the universe has for you. And I loved that because I think that it's so true and that it's showed itself in my life, particularly over the last few weeks. So for years, I've always said that I wanted to buy a house before my daughter went to college because I wanted to have just a place that you can always come home to if you need to. I wanted it to feel stable and this is ours and it's secure and it's not going anywhere. And I had done some things over the last couple of years job-wise in hopes of being able to make that happen. And those jobs would always fall through or things would change. And I just started to feel like it's not going to happen. Like for years, I felt like I want to buy a house before she goes to college. I want to buy a house before she goes to college. And I had a conversation with some friends back when COVID maybe had first started. It's funny how COVID is the timeline for everything.
I know,
now.
right?
But it was probably in like April or May. And I felt like, okay, I need to take a leap. The conversation was about sometimes for safety purposes, we're like waiting for the universe, or I would say for God, for me to like give you a sign or show you that you're supposed to do something, when in reality, he is waiting for you to make a move.
Yeah.
And he's just waiting for you to do something. And then like he's got you, or the universe has got you, whatever. Yeah. And so we had this conversation, and I left the conversation knowing I needed to just pursue what it would look like.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to know this is what I need to do in order to get a mortgage. And then I can start chipping away.
And this is partnership. This is
yes.
partnership with God.
Yes, 100%.
Like this
yes.
is you in aligned action,
yes.
like stepping forward in
Correct.
faith. Yeah.
So I called the first mortgage guy I talked to, never got back to me. I think that was God as well. And I ended up on the phone with, well, first I contacted a realtor and I said, listen, I want to buy a house. I'm not ready to buy a house now. It's probably like a year or two out. This is like all of my information. Can you just like tell me what I need to do?
Yeah.
And she was like, based on what you just told me, I think maybe you could buy a house now. And I was like, I definitely can't, but I'll talk to your mortgage guy, who didn't call me back. So a friend of mine refers me to a different mortgage guy. And this is a part of the story, I believe, and it's important. And I didn't find this out till later, but he became a loan officer because he grew up with a single mom, and he went with his mom one time to get a car loan. Their car had broken down, and she had no other way to get a car, and she was denied.
Wow.
And he said that he walked away from that, and he watched his mom cry. And he was so broken from that moment. He literally became a loan officer because he wanted to be able to help people like his mom. So this is the guy who I end up with.
I mean,
yes, I know. I know.
Also, Liz and I spend a lot of our time crying. We're both twos. We just cry
a lot. I used to be like, I'm sorry, I'm crying. And now I'm just like, we're talking. Of course I'm crying.
Yeah.
So anyway, I talked to him. I'm sure he's going to tell me, yeah, you've got a couple years. This is what you need to do. And he was like, no, I think we can get you a loan. He was like, I think you'll be fine. Anyway, find a house. I'll get into like some of the fun stories, but my daughter is leaving for college in, what is today, the 21st? In 9 days. Okay. I closed on the house 4 days ago. So for years, I've been like, I want to buy a house before she goes to college. And 2 weeks before she goes to college, I close on a house. But little things have happened along the way. So if you've bought a house, you know that you have to have an inspection. And it came back that there was something that the hot water heater needed a safety valve. And the seller went ahead. The insurance company would not insure the house unless they fixed it. And so the seller went to fix it. I knew that the hot water heater was 14 years old, which meant it was going to go at some point, and I just anticipated I would have to replace it. Well, what happened when they went to fix the valve is that the bottom literally fell out of the hot water heater. So they were like, well, now you have to replace the hot water heater completely, which the seller refused to do. But the seller's realtor was like, no, I just want this done, and bought me a brand new hot water heater. So the realtor goes out of pocket to buy a brand new hot water heater so that we can close on time. Mind you, this is happening 2 days before closing.
Jeez.
So the other thing is that when I sat down with my realtor from the beginning, she said, what do you want? As like, what are your dream things for a house? And I told her 2 things. I wish now I would have come up with some more.
Yeah, ask and you shall receive. You should have asked for more.
But this is me not being able to receive and wanting to be easy.
Yep.
I said I have 2 things. I said I want completely renovated bathrooms.
Nice.
I've had bathrooms with 60s tile for as long as I can remember. Yeah. And I'm tired of pink and green bathrooms. Like, I'm just not my aesthetic. So I said I want completely renovated bathrooms. And I want a place where my son can have his basketball hoop. Other than that, I literally do not care. I will fix anything. I will do anything. Like, I will DIY the heck out of something. I don't care. So we find this house that should not have the bathrooms that it has, but that are floor to ceiling marble tile.
Yes.
Brand new fixtures, brand new everything. I mean, the bathrooms
And
are.
this is your first
This
house.
is my first house.
Like, this is your first.
And
like,
when I tell you that these bathrooms, when you come see it, you'll know, should not exist in this house.
I'm so excited. It's like so perfect.
They're beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful bathrooms. Was not a place for a basketball hoop, but I was like, it's fine. Like, we'll get in. I'll figure something out. I'll DIY that. So on closing day, we're doing the final walkthrough, and my realtor tells me, she was like, I really wanted to have a space for Andre to be able to play basketball because I knew that was super important to you. And so I called in a favor with a friend, and he owns a concrete business, and he's going to come out and pour concrete in the back so that Andre can have a space to play basketball. And you don't have to pay for any of it. I've gotten some friends together. We got some money together. This local pasta company is going to pay the guys is going to feed the guys that come out and do the work that day. So yeah, I mean, but you have to look at things like that as, oh, I manifested this.
Yeah.
Like, I spoke this into existence.
Yeah.
But people
Right.
were used to make it happen.
Right.
We did find a house with crazy bathrooms, but like, we didn't find the basketball.
Right.
It didn't just drop in my lap, but people like God, I would say, moved in people's heart to answer that prayer or that thing that I manifested.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, that when I talk about co-creation,
Yes.
that's what I mean.
Yes. That's so good.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
we're creating by setting the intention, because
Yeah.
like that would have never happened had you said like that's like out of all the things,
Yeah.
these two things are most important.
Right.
No one would have known that.
Right.
No one would have known that was important. Right.
That's really good.
You know, like
Yeah.
you had to say it. You had to ask
Yeah.
for it. You had to say, this is important
Yeah.
and I want it.
Yes. Yeah.
And like that was your order into the universe to God. And then it's like, this is what I love, the co-creation. It's like, then everyone, God, universe, and other people
Yeah.
can go to work on your behalf.
So good.
And like I just feel like it's like let's like preach for a moment.
Yeah.
But like this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And the gift that these people get by giving this to you, the gift that Andre gets
Yeah.
by having this now.
Yeah.
Like,
the gift that every boy in our neighborhood.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
And not knowing you.
None
hello.
of who we know yet. But
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, who even knows? And that's the
Yeah.
other beautiful thing. Like,
Yeah.
what more is going to manifest
Yeah.
because of this house?
Yeah.
Just because of this house is yours.
Yeah.
And you've never had a space to like entertain people before.
Right. Never. Yeah.
And like, oh my gosh, my like
It's
two
so
self
good.
is like, you're about to go crazy.
I know. I am going to go crazy.
So I think that this is such a beautiful conversation, because it's like when we talk about manifesting,
Yeah.
it's never independent.
No.
It's
Mm-mm.
never independent.
Yeah.
And it is now, with the new knowledge that we have, especially I think for specifically white people who are waking up to
Yeah.
just this idea of like privilege
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
To me, I don't want to stay in a place of shame about that privilege.
Right. Sure.
I think
It's
I could
not
stay
helpful.
in a place of real honesty about it,
Yeah.
recognizing it. And now it's like, I know I'm a powerful manifester. I
Yeah.
can manifest the shit
Yes.
out of stuff. Like
Yes.
literally, like if I put my mind, it will happen. Like
Yeah.
that is one of my giftings,
Yeah.
and it's something I've learned, and I think it's something anybody can learn.
Yeah.
But it is my responsibility now, even
Yeah.
more than ever,
Yeah.
because I have new awareness of my privilege, to use that privilege for good.
So good.
And, you know, it's like, if we think about manifest, creating something, how can I create a better world?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in whatever way my heart is
Yeah.
drawn to. And that's different for everybody. What that
Yeah, I was
looks
going to say,
like.
I think that's really important to know, like, that it looks different for all of us. And
Yeah.
I say this a lot, that it's literally a giant puzzle, and that we
Yeah.
all have a piece of that puzzle. And if you don't show up with your piece, the puzzle isn't complete.
Right.
But every single piece of the puzzle is different. Not everybody is going to have thousands of dollars of Amazon packages show up at their front door full of food
Totally.
to feed families. But everybody has a piece that they need to bring to the table. And also, like, it's very healing.
It is.
It's so healing.
And I do want to say, because I think this is such a huge part of what we're talking about, is
Yeah.
also the ability to receive.
Yeah. It's hard.
It is.
Whew, it's hard.
It's so vulnerable. It's like the most vulnerable thing ever.
Yeah, it's scary. And I think, you know, for some of us that have like family issues where people have been, inconsistent in our lives, or we've been let down like massively by people, or, for me, you learned that you have to take care of yourself.
Oh, over responsibility.
Yeah,
like, totally.
100%.
Yep.
That because there's not really anyone to fall back on. It can be really difficult to open yourself up to that. And it's definitely, I feel like I'm just now chipping away at it.
Yeah. And like when you think about, for us, that's so huge. And then for a group of people, I'm just going to say that, I don't want to like overgeneralize, but who have been oppressed for so long, that trust thing is just like that's again, and like that to me feels real foundational. Like trust is like real at the bottom of the pyramid there. Yeah. And like our trust in God, divinity, spirit, source, whatever, meeting us, meeting our needs. Yeah. Like that is a wound that has to be healed. Yeah. And I think that in this idea, it's like we get excited, like, oh yeah, like I want to dream about this. And then we come right face to face with like, but what if this doesn't happen? Yeah. What does this say about me? Yeah. And, in the remaining time that we have here for a couple minutes, I just want to kind of touch on some of the other issues that come up in manifestation or blocks or whatever, pitfalls, because I think one of it is this issue of trust. Yeah. For sure. Totally. Can I trust that the universe is safe? Yeah. If we don't have safety, forget it. Right. Again, Maslow's hierarchy of need, basic needs. But then I think, and I see this so often, is this need for people to hyper control the manifestation process. Like this is why on the 5th step, if you go back to the episode, the first episode, Manifestation 101, I talk about surrender. Yeah. Because we inevitably, when we're fearful, we want to hijack the system. Yeah. And then we get fearful that we have to get it right for God to meet us. Right. Like I got to say the right things. I got to think the right things. Yeah. I got to meditate for a certain amount of time or else it's not going to happen. Right. And there's so much fear around that.
And it makes you just want to throw the whole thing away because it's so much pressure.
It feels like a, I was going to say magic trick that you just don't understand. Right. But it feels almost like mysterious or elusive and like, we want to make it concrete. Yeah. And I think that like, it's so much simpler than we realize.
100%.
And again, I mean, it goes back to, these are all belief issues. It goes back to like believing that we have a God who wants to love us and meet us. Yeah. And take care of us. Yeah. Like, and I mean, whatever you believe.
Yes. Whatever language.
Translate that and how you need to. But like, basically that like, we have something higher than ourselves that like wants the best for us. Yeah. And especially when we haven't experienced that in our family of origin. Yeah. That's a toughie.
It is a toughie. It's hard. Yeah.
The other thing that I want to touch on is, timing. Yeah. And patience. Because I think that like from your story, like we have in both ways, like either we want it quicker. Yeah. Than it comes through. Sure. Or
it
like in your case,
insanely fast.
You were like 2 years down the road. And then
it was literally, I mean, I think well, first of all, I got clearance to close on Tuesday and we closed on Friday. So
that's quick.
Also, if you need my mortgage guy's name, I'm happy to give it to you.
Yeah, really. So serious. But like, I think that idea of like non-attachment to the time frame, yes, or how it comes through in the timing, because I think sometimes we feel like we're getting it wrong, right? Because it's not coming through quick enough, right? And this is where it's like, I say this all the time, it's rigged in your favor.
I was just going to say, like, I am able to look back on my life now and know that things are working out in my favor. Yeah. That things are happening for me, not to me.
Yes.
And so
preach it, Tony Robbins.
And so I think, I didn't even know that was Tony Robbins. I'm glad you did. Yeah. But I think, that's important. Just being able to go, I have this desire. I have this dream. Yeah. I believe that it's for me. Yeah. I believe that there is something helping me make it happen. But also, if it doesn't happen in 6 months, I'm not going to quit or I'm not going to just let it go.
Well, it's like, what part of me also is attached to the time frame or is in resistance to receiving it.
Yeah. It's huge.
Like, planning for something and expecting it to fail. Yeah. I mean, talk about mixed messages to God. Yeah. It's like, this is the whole concept of faith. Yes. And this is why I was going to say challenging, but it stretches us.
It does stretch us. And I think there's something, you just said something that made me think like, it's also important to like get the rest of yourself in alignment if you can with the thing that you're hoping for.
Right. Like what part of myself is like wanting this and resisting it.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And I think that resistance is like people like want to not pay attention to it or pretend it's not there. I'm like, no, that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's where we get to like work through this stuff to like move out the frequency that's not in alignment.
Yeah.
And so I want to share, just kind of to end our conversation, I want to share an experience that I've had that I think was really powerful.
Yeah.
So I remember, you'll remember this too, but one of my things that I kind of get made fun of about it, but it's just who I am, is that anytime somebody comes to sell me something door to door,
I love this.
I always open the door, and it's always teenagers, college kids of color.
Yes.
Okay, who are selling magazines. Let me see what I bought. Magazines, cookbooks, regular books, cleaning solution. Like, it doesn't matter. But anytime that these, I'll call them kids, come to my door, I always invite them in.
Yes, I love it.
And you were at my house one time when this happened. And Bentley always he's like, you don't need to be doing this. And I'm like, and I just believe in a safe world in that sense that I'm like, I'm going to be protected. Like, I don't have
and
that.
you have been.
Yeah, I just don't have that fear. You know, I'm just like, let me love on you.
Yeah.
And so I bring him in, give him something to drink, you know, which sometimes works. And sometimes the last group did not like what I gave them to drink. It was funny.
They weren't fans of LaCroix.
They were like, what is this dirty water?
Yes, that's me. Yes.
But all that to say is that for me, like I look at these children who are working, like literally going door to door.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going door to door, especially now? Are you kidding me? The amount of just like effort that these kids are putting in to take their lives somewhere positive.
Yeah.
And I've sat down with them in my old house. I've listened to their stories, and it was so amazing. I remember I talked to one kid, and I was asking him about the company that he worked for. Yeah. And so I was sharing some of the stuff that I had been learning kind of about this process, right, of manifestation. He's really intrigued, you know. And he told me that he had been reading this book called Success Principles by Jack Canfield, which
is a book that you own.
Which is a book that I own. And if you've seen it, it's underlined everywhere. So many sticky notes. It's like my Bible for success. Yeah. And in it talks about acting as if and you know, being who you want to be before you are that person and all this kind of stuff. And so he was sharing that a mentor of his shared this book with him, and that a lot of the white people's houses that he's gone to, they've had this book. And so he's like, it must be like this really important book to read. So we sat outside, and I remember just talking about it. And I just thought, man, this is what it's about. It's like, number one, recognizing this is privilege. The fact that I'm buying from this child who is having to literally like leave his family and go door to door just to make ends meet for him and his family. Yeah. And I mean, I have heard all the stories of where these kids have come from. Some of them are immigrants. Yeah. Some of them just low income families. Yeah. And yet they are literally sweating to build their life. Yeah. And this is where the partnership comes in. Totally. You know what I mean? It's like these beautiful souls are like doing it. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do I contribute to that piece of their manifestation? Yes. Yes. It's like, I'm going to buy the frickin', you know, 10X cleaning solution that nobody needs. It's like hospital grade, you know, that's like,
I mean, we might need it right now.
I mean, we might need it right now. You know, I'm going to buy the freaking cookbook that has the, you know, religious pitch at the end. Yeah. You know, I'm going to buy whatever it is, you know, like I'm going to buy it.
We had this whole podcast just to tell you to support Black owned businesses.
Yes. So please go and search your Black owned business. But like literally though.
Yes. Literally go. Yes. Literally go and do that. Yeah.
But like, to me, it's like I'm manifesting in my own life so that I can help somebody else manifest.
Yes, because co-creating is not just you and God. It's not just you and the universe. Yep. It's you, God, the universe, and then the people that are placed in your path. Yeah. I've never had someone come to my door to sell me anything, ever. Like, wow. Never, ever, ever.
They've tracked my house. They know. they know now.
Like, she buys everything,
and I do. I mean, I'm like,
yes, but like that you are given a specific opportunity to co-create with God, the universe, and those kids.
And like, how hard is that?
It's not.
It's like literally effortless.
Yeah,
like,
effortless.
Oh, here's a drink. And here's a check for $50.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's like effortless.
Yeah, that's good.
And like those, and like honestly, not that what you're doing is effortless, because I feel like, but like in your
No,
soul,
but
it's effortless
to my soul. Oh, in my soul, it is 100% effortless.
Like that's just who you are.
It has been the most healing and life-giving thing that I've been able to be a part of.
And honestly, it's the boomerang, right? What you give is what
Yeah.
you receive. And like literally when you were telling me about the house
Yeah.
and the water heater and
Yeah.
in the basketball court, I was like, well, duh.
Yeah.
Like it just made sense. Like it just,
Yeah.
as a law of the universe, I was like, of course, because look at what she's giving.
Mm-hmm.
And she's so generous. Like, of course, people who don't even like literally probably even know that part about your life
Right.
are like helping you.
Yeah.
Like literally building a free basketball court for your son. Who does that?
Nobody.
Like literally,
Yes.
like who does that?
I
And we
know.
don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And these are good people.
Yeah.
And we are good people.
Yeah.
And we get the opportunity to be and to better our
Yeah.
world through manifesting
Yeah.
and helping others manifest.
Good.
Mic drop done.
Done.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay.
It's been fun.
Guys, if you want Liz to be on every week, please let me know. Lindsley, you're fired. Just kidding. We'll have them both on. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
This
It was
was
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got one last episode next week. So tune in, subscribe to the podcast, share this. Thanks for staying to the end. If you're still here, I appreciate you.
Yeah. And go support your local Black-owned business.
Amen. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you got some amazing nuggets to take home and start implementing into your life. And if you're looking for the show notes and links, head on over to maryhyatt.com/show. And if you loved it, why not bring your girlfriends along this journey of becoming fully alive with you? Just give a quick share of this episode to your social channels and enjoy those debriefing convos with your besties. Thanks again, and I can't wait to connect with you next week.